You guys today, finally, the WNBA and its owners have sent a proposal to the union. After 6 weeks of seeing Nneka Ogwumike show up on the caller ID and just letting the phone ring, after 6 weeks of receiving text messages from the players' union and leaving them on red, after 6 weeks of email after email after email after email, and the owners saying, gosh, these chicks are annoying. Finally, they said, you know what? Let's just throw something together real quick and
6 weeks. That's how long the WNBA owners left the players' union on red. 6 weeks of text messages ignored, emails piling up, phone calls going straight to voicemail. When they finally responded this past Friday, the timing tells you everything you need to know about how seriously they're taking these negotiations.
Alexa Filippo of ESPN can confirm that the WNBA has submitted a new proposal today to the WNBPA, as expected following Monday's meeting. The WNBA Players Association initially submitted a proposal around Christmas that the league had yet to formally respond to until today. They sent a proposal around Christmas, and here we are 1 week out from Valentine's Day, and the league said, all right, just send them something back. What?
Here's what actually happened. The Players Association sent their proposal around Christmas. December 25th comes and goes. New Year's passes, January rolls through, and the entire time, the league's response was radio silence. Then suddenly, 1 week before Valentine's Day, they decide to throw something together. The question isn't whether they sent a proposal, it's whether they sent anything new at all.
WNBA submits latest CBA proposal to the players, source says. After a 3-hour meeting Monday at the NBA offices, the WNBA Players Union left with the understanding it would soon have a new proposal on a collective bargaining agreement. It came Friday evening when the WNBA submitted its latest proposal to the union, a source told ESPN, confirming news first reported by the Associated Press. This ended a more than 6-week wait from the Players Association for a counter to its latest offer. Players waking up every day. Did they respond yet? No.
According to ESPN's Alexa Filippo, the WNBA finally submitted their counter-proposal Friday evening after a 3-hour meeting on Monday at the NBA offices. But here's where it gets interesting. The union president, Nneka Ogwumike, had been very vocal about this delay. She's been doing interviews, holding player meetings, building public pressure, and now that the proposal finally arrived, nobody knows what's actually in it.
How many games? 10 games, 20 games, 5 games, 30 games, 44 games? How many games? Before receiving the latest proposal, Ogwumike had said, quote, I know our players 100% want to play this year. We won a season. Ogwumike has said the league and union were not close on key issues, such as revenue sharing, in their effort to strike a new CBA. We get it, revenue sharing. We get it. If that's the only key issue, well, just say that's the only key issue, not few key issues. It's the only key issue. The WNBA, the owners, they've given them everything else.
Let's talk about what we do know. The previous offer from the league included maximum salaries jumping from the current $249,000 to $1 million in 2026, potentially reaching $1.3 million through revenue sharing. That could grow to nearly $2 million over the life of the agreement. They also outlined 37 areas where they were willing to make concessions. Free league pass for players, developmental roster spots, pregnant players getting the right to refuse trades, codified charter flights, first-class travel considerations. On paper, that sounds generous. But there's one massive issue the players won't budge on.
It's quickly. Yeah, no shit. Because the rest has already fallen into place quickly. Now you guys are just holding out until getting your revenue share. We know. The smart ones know. The non-drones, we know. The ones who think, we know. The owners have given you everything else. We're just waiting on it. We know. The players want around 30% of gross revenue, money generated before expenses, for the first year in their latest proposal. Under the league's previous proposal, players would receive in excess of 70% of net revenue.
Revenue sharing. That's the entire negotiation right now. Ogwumike has been crystal clear about this. Once revenue sharing is solved, everything else falls into place quickly. And she's right, because the league has already given them everything else. The players want approximately 30% of gross revenue. That's money generated before expenses. The league's previous proposal offered players in excess of 70% of net revenue, which is their take of the profits after expenses are paid. Now here's where the math gets tricky, and this is what the players are pushing back on.
Those expenses would include upgraded facilities, chartered flights, five-star hotels, medical services, security, and arenas, and everything else the league needs to operate on a day-in and day-out basis. They leave that part out. Everything else the league needs to operate in a day-in, day-out basis is considered expenses. The league's previous offer last month would guarantee a maximum salary of $1 million in 2026. That could reach 1.3 through revenue sharing. That's up from the current $249,000 and could grow to nearly $2 million over the life of the agreement. That was on slides that were presented to players at Money Meeting and obtained by ESPN and other outlets. The slides also outlined 37 areas where the league was willing to make concessions that players.
Those expenses include upgraded facilities, charter flights, five-star hotels, medical services, security, and everything else the league needs to operate day to day. When you're calculating net revenue, all of that comes out first. So 70% of what's left might sound impressive until you realize how much gets categorized as operational expenses. The players aren't stupid. They understand that gross revenue sharing gives them a guaranteed percentage of every dollar that comes in, regardless of how the league chooses to spend money. This is standard practice in the NBA. Players get approximately 50% of basketball-related income, calculated before most expenses. The WNBA players are asking for 30% using that same model. The league is offering 70% of a much smaller number.
We'll give them time. And so, in December, after the strike authorization vote, we were able to meet in Miami and talk to the players. Yada, 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 yada. Everything we've already known. Now, the funny thing that these owners could do, shout out to Bane. Bane, happy belated birthday to you. And when the owners resubmit the same proposal they submitted before the players, this would be the funny thing. If the owners, just like the players send in a proposal to the owners say, fuck no. The players send them the same thing. The owners say, I'm not even going to respond. Now the owners, when they do.
But here's what nobody's talking about. The timing of this proposal wasn't random. Ogwumike was down in Nashville last week at Athletes Unlimited, holding a players-only meeting with AU participants, including executive committee members Breonna Turner and Alicia Clark. They were consolidating support, making sure everyone understood the union's position, preparing for the long haul if necessary. The league knew this was happening. They knew the players were organizing, so they finally sent something. And there's a very real possibility that what they sent is basically the same proposal they submitted before the players' December offer, just reworded slightly. Change a few phrases, move some commas around, make it sound a little more emotionally appealing, but fundamentally the same deal.
Appeal to their emotions a little bit more, because there's an emotional bunch here. I like that, Bane. The owners are just going to submit the same proposal they submitted before the Players Association's December proposal. How funny would that be? Now, Nneka Ogwumike was down there in Athletes Limited. In hindsight, now we know that they sent a proposal. But let's just read along, shall we? President Nneka Ogwumike and WNBA staff were in Nashville last night, where they held a players-only meeting with AU players, including executive committee members Breonna Turner and Alicia Clark. I want to hear more from Alicia Clark. She seems like she has a head on her shoulders. I don't want to give too much, but she seems like she is on the we should take the deal side. So I want to hear from Alicia Clark more. There is no new proposal. I think they're trying to align Unrivaled and AU to take the place of WNBA when the strike occurs. I think they believe if all the WNBA talent would play in those leagues during a strike, the league will acquiesce. However, I don't think they realize that there are many talented female players not under contract or not.
Think about the position this puts everyone in. The season is supposed to start May 8th, but before that can happen, they need an expansion draft for Toronto and Portland. They need free agency to open up. They need a rookie draft. And 80% of players in the league are free agents this offseason. because of the expected salary raises in the new CBA. This is the biggest opportunity for player movement in WNBA history, and none of it can happen without a deal. Every game that gets delayed costs both sides money: sponsorships, television revenue, ticket sales, merchandise. The league knows this creates pressure on the players to accept whatever's on the table. But here's what the owners might be miscalculating. These players just came off the biggest season in WNBA history. Viewership records shatter, attendance up across the board. Caitlin Clark's rookie year brought unprecedented attention to the league. The players know their value right now is higher than it's ever been. And Ogwumike said something fascinating in her recent comments. She said the 6-week delay actually helped them. It gave them time to talk to players, to consolidate their position, to make sure everyone understood what they're fighting for. She called it the gift of time. So if that's true, why was she complaining about the delay for 6 straight weeks? Either the delay was a problem, or it was helpful. It can't be both, unless the complaints were strategic. Build public pressure, make the league look unresponsive. Use the media attention to rally the players, then when the proposal finally comes, frame it as too little too late. That's smart negotiating. But it also reveals something about how this union operates. They're not just negotiating with the league, they're negotiating in public, using media coverage as leverage. The problem is that some players may not fully understand the financial realities here. The executive committee, Ogwumike, Turner, Clark, they're sophisticated negotiators. They understand gross versus net revenue. They know what they're asking for and why. But what about the players who just want to play basketball? The ones who aren't diving into spreadsheets and CBA language? The union is counting on those players to stay unified, to trust the leadership, to hold the line even if it means missing games. And that's where this could fall apart. Because if the league's new proposal includes those $1 million max contracts, those charter flights, all 37 concessions they already offered, plus maybe a slight bump in the revenue sharing formula, some players are going to look at that and think it's good enough. They're going to see their salaries potentially quadrupling and wonder why they're holding out for a different accounting method. The league knows this. That's why they laid out those 37 concessions so publicly. They're not just negotiating with Ogwumike. They're negotiating with every player who might break ranks. They're creating a situation where the union leadership has to explain to their membership why a massive salary increase and significantly improved working conditions still isn't acceptable. Because at the end of the day, this comes down to one question. Do the players trust that gross revenue sharing will generate more money for them than the net revenue model the league is offering? The union is betting yes. They're betting that as the WNBA continues to grow, having a guaranteed percentage of every dollar coming in will be worth more than a higher percentage of what's left after expenses. They're very right about that. But they're also betting that their membership will stay unified long enough to force the league to accept that model. And that's a much riskier bet. Because the season starts in less than 3 months, and every day without a deal makes it more likely that some players start wondering if holding out is worth it. So here's what happens next. The union reviews this new proposal. They'll probably find it's not substantially different from what was already on the table. They'll reject it publicly, frame it as the league not negotiating in good faith, and we'll be right back where we started. Unless enough players break ranks and pressure the union to accept. That's the scenario the league is hoping for. Send a proposal that looks generous on the surface, wait for player sentiment to shift, and let internal pressure do what direct negotiation could. The question is whether the players are smart enough to see through that strategy and unified enough to resist it. Based on Ogwumike's comments, they seem to be, but we're about to find out just how solid that unity really is.